Hi everybody, and welcome to lesson 5.1, where we will be discussing the important topic of who you want to be on the page, or your author persona. So Sally, how do you think about persona, or how do you define it?
Right. So I reach back to literally the dictionary definition of persona. It comes from the Latin word for an actor's mask. So you could think that it's a fake thing, but I think that, like all good acting, it must contain a strong element of truth.
One of my favorite persona, which is the coach or the advisor. That's a very common persona to see on the page in nonfiction, especially prescriptive nonfiction, which is where you're really advising and explaining how to do something, right? How to make a change, how to follow a process, how to do just about anything.
And so another persona that I haven't worked with extensively, but I really admire when it's done well, is the inciter. And this is that kind of call to action book, especially dealing with big social issues. And you see a lot of it done really, really well, and I think subtly these days, especially on topics like race and gender and the larger issues that are occupying us.
So how do you figure it out? Right? That's the next big question. How do you figure out your authentic persona? What persona is most aligned with your stated goals, right? If you want people to hire you to speak, maybe it's cheerleader or inciter. But if you want people to hire you as a consultant, maybe it's coach. Sally, what are some other questions to ask that to help people sort of narrow their thinking on this?
So I think it can be helpful to, again, come back to your reader. I always like coming back to the reader. I tend to think of my approach as very reader-centric. So thinking about how you want the reader to engage with you and what you want them to do after they've read your book. Do you want them to rise up and make social change at a large level? Then maybe you're an inciter. Do you want them to simply reflect more deeply on who they are as a person? Then maybe you're something of that coach advisor person. So I think flipping it back to what you want your reader to do at the end of the book can be helpful.
Another question that I think is helpful is to ask yourself, why are you the right person to write this book? And why are you the right person to write it now? Given where you're at, given what you know, given what you've done, all of those things play a role in what makes sense for your natural persona. So I think that's a good way to think about it. And then the last one is to try to complete this sentence, which is, I'm sharing this with you as somebody who blank. How are you sharing your content and your ideas with the world?